Hello everyone, it's Fritz, here with my first ever, uh, well, I guess it wouldn't be just a event video, but a video kind of talking about a game I was hyped for, but when some news kind of just started cascading, like one day and then a few days later, some more disappointing news, it kind of made me upset with the game that you see right here. Now, let me clarify, I am still happy that they made this game, and I will eventually get it. But it would some certain things are going to happen before I end up buying it. And just to say what that is, it's basically whenever this game gets packaged with all three downloadable contents, and when it has the base game with those three DLCs for at least $60, not higher, I'll buy it then. Or the base game itself when it's like $20, even without the DLC, I probably would buy it then. But just there's some things that, like I said, like on, if I remember correctly, on September 1st, just a couple of days before they were going to release the game, they were like, yeah, the game is about 20 hours long for story wise, and I was kind of like, wow, that's definitely, I thought it would be at least 25 or more, but what's 5 extra hours. But as I was looking into it, and they kind of were doing some more articles. I'm sorry, you probably hear some clicks and me kind of showing some stuff, but this right here, I'm gonna read it to you. I'm moving my cursor like you can see it, but I don't have the cursor so it doesn't mess up your view. But it says Insomniac Games community director James Stevenson has revealed PlayStation's 4 Spider-Man takes about 20 hours to beat. Now, what kind of made me feel uneasy, unsettling about it, it said it is a bout. And if anybody knows the definition of a bout, that means it's approximately, it's not fully 20 hours. But I'm like, you know what? Their last game that they made, Sunset Overdrive, which is a game that I truly loved, was also about 20 hours, if I'm correct, but that was just strictly just main story. And I was, like I said, disappointed with it, but where I got it for free when I used to own an Xbox One, they gave it as one of their free monthly games. I wasn't hurting on any money there. I got it for free, so it didn't really matter to me. And I do like the little collectible things you can get, and I do like the little side missions, like, oh, go find this thing. Okay, now that you find that one, like, guess what? Go find a different one in this spot. It's fun, but it gets too repetitive, and I don't really play that much of those aspects of the game. Like, so when you say, oh, you got these side quests that can make it longer, to me, those side quests, I don't really play that much, and I don't consider myself a completionist when it comes to games. I might try to do it's complete as much as I feel like it, but my main concern is when I'm playing a game, I like it for the story, and going around and collecting items around a city isn't much added to the story. That's why they're called side missions or and other stuff. But let's get back to this. It also says it's worth noting that 20 hours is the average time taken for multiple playtesters. Stevenson wrote that 20 hours is about how long it takes to beat Spider-Man on the default difficulty, and only when completing quests or some quests and activities. Those that do that, it will take a lot longer. So the 20-hour marker is for the average player who's not looking to test themselves and gets the game's most challenging combat and complete every optional objective. Now, to me, these, as they call them, side quests or activities, that's not part of the main story. And like I said, I'm not a completionist, so those don't really matter as much to me if I played this game now and owned it now. I think the only other side thing that I would really go do would be the missions just to unlock the different suits for Spider-Man, and that would probably be it. But what kind of got me even more upset, if you take that sentence that is said there, it says Stevens wrote that 20 hours is about how long it takes for someone to beat Spider-Man on the default difficulty. Now, if we stop right there, that it, like he said, it takes about 20 hours if you play the story. But he also includes into that sentence, as you see, and only when completing some quests and activities. So if you would break that sentence down to how, it's meant to be taken, that the main quest, the main story that you're buying to see what the story is all about, can only hit that 20-hour mark if you do some of these side quests and activities. Meaning, if you don't do those side quests and activities, you're not going to hit that 20-hour marker, according to that sentence. Because like it said, 20 hours is about how long it takes for someone to beat Spider-Man on the default difficulty, and only when completing some of the quests and activities. Quest meaning side quests. So he said that to get to that 20-hour marker, you need to do some side quests and activities just for it to even touch that 20-hour marker. So basically the main story itself is not 20 hours long. It's less than 20 hours. That's why they said about 20 hours, approximately 20 hours. And a lot of people are like, oh, 20 hours is good, but it's not 20 hours, people. So that kind of like made me somewhat not happy with the fact that, this game's going to cost $60 and the main story is less than 20 hours. And it kind of hurt my soul a little, but I was like, you know what? Whatever, it's a Spider-Man game. I've been a big Spider-Man fan since I was 6 years old. And I'm going to get it, So I just kind of left it alone, and it was like maybe 3 days later, they were like, oh yeah, we got pretty much our DLCs that we announced way back in the day, which let me clarify on this one too. I don't care when I get to this next part that they actually announced the DLC. It's the announcement on when they were actually dropping that blew my mind, because if you drop a game like they're doing in September, just if you looked at any other game, it takes about 2 to 3 months for them to start dropping that DLC. No, not for them. Literally the next month you get the first DLC, and each subsequent, like every month, I almost messed up the word, so let me say every month after that, as you see here, they're dropping the other one, and then the other one. Meaning in October they're dropping it, November they're dropping another one, December they're dropping another one. Now, once again, it's not that they're dropping them back to back, because that's pretty much what they do. It's literally September, base game. October, the very next month, first DLC. November, the month after that, DLC. And then December, the last DLC. Back to back to back to back. And for example, so you might understand what I'm talking about and why I'm like, wow, my mind's blown. Far Cry. It was one of the last games that I bought that had the DLCs. I got the Gold Edition that came packaged with a couple in-game items, and the 3 DLCs that when they drop, you just got them. All you had to do was download them, the season pass, if you will, which they do offer here, and I will read that to you. But Far Cry dropped the base game in March, and then 3 months later, in June, they started dropping the DLCs for them. They didn't do it the very next month. And just to kind of break it down even more, March, the very much next month is April. That's 1 month. May is 2 months. June, like I said, that's the month they dropped. It's 3 months that they waited because the DLC was nowhere near being done. They didn't have a trailer for the first DLC until the month of June as well, because that's when they pretty much had the cutscenes, the games and stuff ready that to be able to make a trailer. But with Spider-Man here, they already have. Before the game dropped, they had the first DLC trailer for it, for the heist. Yes, it looked amazing, but it kind of just, like I said, it doesn't sit well with me, and I don't understand how they could pull this off, because to me I felt like they cut content. If anything, they felt like the very first one, the heist, definitely felt like they took that bit out of the game so they can hurry up get one DLC out while they worked on the other ones. If anything, I'll say, and just to make everyone else happy that's watching this, I'll just say they cut the very first one. The heist, in my opinion, should have definitely been in with the base game. And the reason why, let's look at this. The first chapter of Marvel's Spider-Man's The City That Never Sleeps is Marvel's Spider-Man The Heist, and it will be released October 23rd. As you play the base game, you realize that Felicia Hardy, aka Black Cat, is back in town and she's leaving clues around town to toy with Spider-Man. In Marvel's Spider-Man The Heist, she finally reveals herself, featuring new missions and challenges, as well as brand new factions of enemies and 3 additional suits to unlock. You won't want to miss it. So, to me, if the base game already has her toying with Spider-Man, and the very next month your first DLC you're dropping has to do with Felicia Hardy, that is just like direct evidence in my mind, and the other people who are upset, we feel that if anything, at least this DLC has been cut from the base game. And if you look back, there's been other games that had stuff in it, but it was locked and you couldn't get to those features until you bought DLC. Then it unlocked certain in-game items that were already in the base game. And that's what people are feeling that's kind of going on here, especially when you drop the game and in the next 3 months you're dropping back-to-back stuff. That just seems like, hey, you had this shit in there, you locked it off or cut it out, and making us buy it again for $25 or $10 a piece if you would do it per month. And that's just shady. Now, I understand some people are not going to agree with that, but to me and a ton of other people, we feel like it is. And after reading all this stuff, it pretty much made me go, you know what? I'm still hyped for this game. I'm still going to buy it. But I'm definitely going to cancel my pre-order and either wait for the base game to drop to $20 or wait for the game to be packaged with all 3 DLCs included and at least be $60 or lower. That's just me. I don't want to buy an incomplete game. I felt like a complete jackass when I bought Metal Gear Solid 5, and anyone that plays that, they knew that was an incomplete game, but that's for a totally different reason. And it's just, I don't want to feel like a fool for spending $60 just to basically beat the main story in under 20 hours, meaning a day. Less than a day you can beat the main game, and I don't feel that's worth $60. And yes, like I said, oh, you can bump the difficulty up and it will be, harder. Well, that doesn't still negate the fact that if you play it on easy, normal, or hard, it's less than 20 hours worth of gameplay. Making it hard, that just makes you not beat the missions quicker. It doesn't make the story longer. I kind of hope you guys kind of see that and can understand why some of us don't feel like it's worth the $60 at this point in time. Like I said, it would be worth that $60 if it had the DLC straight up with it. So, I mean, it's just, to me, that's just like my little concerns with it. That's the reason why I'm going to be waiting to own this game. Now, like I said, this game looks amazing. I cannot wait to they package with the DLC so I can finally play this game. If one of my friends ever own it and they're like, hey man, I beat it, would you like to play it? I'll probably borrow it from them and play it. And I still, even when I beat it in that day, I still will end up buying the game and supporting them. They're just not getting my money until it's packaged. So like I said, don't take and come away from this video saying that Fritz is saying this game's garbage. Don't buy it. By all means, support Insomniac. They've done a beautiful job on this game, and I actually like the fact that even though they had a ton of lore to pull from, they actually made their own story, and that's, like, in my opinion, kudos to Insomniac. I mean, and it's just great, just freaking great. So, I mean, like I said, by all means, anyone who's hyped, I hope you went out and bought the game. I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying it to its full extent that you can at this point in time. And like I said, because I'm already seeing people saying all the costumes, like we have videos on YouTube that's showing all the costumes you can get. And it's like just crazy how quickly this stuff is dropped already. So, I mean, like I said, it's a short game, very short game at this point in time. And it's just me when I say this. I say it's definitely worth the buy. But for me, it's going to have that DLC with it, or the base game finally drop down to at least $20. So thank you so much for stopping by Geekdom and listening, and maybe hopefully understand why some of us are upset about the time it takes to beat the game, and why we're upset about the whole DLC stuff. It's not that the DLC was announced, because that's what all pretty much game developers do now. They'll say, oh, this is our game, and then they'll probably be like a week or two later, they're like, oh yeah, look, these are the DLCs that's going to be dropping for it later on. And then that's like later on, like 2 or 3 months. Not, hey, we're going to start giving you guys this DLC the very next month. That's shady. So anyway, back to my outro so I don't make this any longer than it is. Thank you so much for stopping by Geekdom. As always, it is super appreciated that you even took the time to actually watch this. If you do understand and kind of see where we're coming from, make sure you hit that little like button. And if you're like Snicklefritz, you're just dumb as shit and I don't like it, make sure you hit that dislike button, because you know what, that's what it's there for. And like I said, everybody has their own opinion on stuff, and I feel when you're at my channel, you should be able to express how you feel and then not be held against you. Also, down in the comments, if you have played this game and beat it, just kind of let me know if you are happy with the story, and just try to not leave spoilers for me or anybody else who hasn't played the game yet, who are waiting out just a little bit longer to get our hands on it. So once again, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm Snicklefritz, and as always, you guys stay classy.